The Mean Life of Mr. Mustard. In the heart of Liverpool, where the cobbled streets glistened with the remnants of a morning drizzle, lived Ernie Mustard. Everyone knew him, but nobody liked him. A wiry, hunched man with a permanently furrowed brow, he prowled the streets like a storm cloud, muttering to himself about the world's injustices, most of which he seemed to take very personally. To the locals, he was simply Mean Mr. Mustard, and he wore the nickname like an old smelly coat. Ernie had peculiar habits. He kept his money in tattered envelopes stuffed into his threadbare coat, refusing to trust banks. His favorite pastime was glaring at children playing hopscotch or rugby in the streets, barking at them to keep quiet. "Bloody racket," he'd snarl, waving his cane like a deranged conductor. He lived in a dingy flat above a disused fishmonger's, its peeling paint and grimy windows a perfect match for his dour demeanor. But Ernie's greatest irritation, and perhaps his only tether to humanity, was his sister Pam. Pam was everything Ernie was not: boisterous, friendly, and perpetually optimistic. A larger-than-life woman with a thick Scouse accent and a penchant for leopard print everything, she'd stride through the neighborhood with her head held high, utterly unbothered by her brother's disdain for life. "Ernie, you can't just go about yelling at kids all day," she'd chide, barging into his flat without knocking. "People are talking, you know. They say you've gone funny in the head." "Let 'em talk," Ernie would retort, his voice as gravelly as the Mersey docks. "What do I care? They're all daft, every last one of them." Pam would roll her eyes, toss a biscuit onto his cluttered table, and remind him that life wasn't all bad. "You know, Ernie, if you smiled more, you might even make a friend or two." Ernie had no time for such nonsense. He had his secrets, after all. Every Sunday night, under the cover of darkness, he'd disappear into the old factory down the road. For years, people had speculated about his strange excursions. Was he plotting some mischief? Hoarding junk? Pam, of course, was determined to get to the bottom of it. One fateful evening, she followed him. Slipping through the factory door, Pam discovered a shocking scene. Stacks of money, more cash than she'd ever seen in her life, piled high in an old storage room. And there was Ernie, counting it all with a calculator older than she was. "Ernie, what in heaven's name is this?" He jumped, nearly toppling a tower of 50-pound notes. "Pam, you daft cow! You weren't supposed to see this?" As it turned out, Ernie wasn't just hoarding his pennies. He'd been secretly running a lottery syndicate for years, taking bets from the neighborhood's pub patrons and raking in the winnings. He'd never spent a penny, of course. "Why waste it?" he grumbled. "Money's only good if you've got it." Pam stared at him, half shocked and half amused. "You're sitting on a fortune, Ernie, and for what?" Ernie scowled. "Because then, I'm richer than all of them, that's why." Pam laughed so hard she nearly cried. "Well, there you go. Baby, you're a rich man.